Hi, I'm Stephen Skelton. I'm a Libertarian from Snohomish, Washington, and I'm running for the House of Representatives to win one seat for liberty. Now, when I planned this campaign, this is not at all how I imagined the announcement to go. There was going to be an event, and there would be banners and signs, and my friends and supporters would be there. I'd give a rousing speech, and then I'd hit the campaign trail to shake hands and kiss babies and address the crowds. Obviously, that's not going to happen now, so it's an online campaign, and I invite you to follow along. The goal is to persuade you to express your support by either sharing the message, donating to the campaign, or if you live in the district, by voting. What do I mean by one seat for liberty? There are 435 seats in the House of Representatives. 433 are occupied either by Democrats or Republicans, and 0 are occupied by a declared libertarian that values first the freedom of the American people. The Republicans and Democrats control the election process in all 50 states, and they've done a good job of ensuring that only Democrats and Republicans can get elected to the House. But, like the empire overlooking the small exhaust port just below the main port, they've left an opening for a libertarian to win a seat in the district in which I happen to live. All of the congressional candidates, regardless of party, compete in one primary. The top 2 are declared the winners, and they go head-to-head in November at the general election with the seat on the line. All I have to do to be head-to-head with a Democrat in November is defeat the Republican in the August primary, and that is entirely doable. The Republican Party has abandoned Western Washington. He'll have no greater resources than I have. It will be a fair fight, and I think I can win. And come November, I'll be one-on-one with a Democrat and gaining momentum. I'll be fundraising nationally, and locally, I'll be the only option. Those who are happy with the way Democrats and Republicans are running things, they can vote for my opponent. Those who wish to express dissatisfaction, they can vote for me. This campaign is essentially 3 declarations. The first is that the reign of Democrat and Republican control in Washington, D.C. is irredeemable. They've long since abandoned responsible governance, and they must be replaced. Declaration 2 is that to better resolve our blue city, red county differences, we must de-emphasize Washington, D.C. and make our governing decisions closer to home. The third declaration is that we must defend capitalism and suppress socialism. Capitalism has brought a standard of living to all Americans at all economic stations that their grandparents couldn't have dreamed of. We have a good thing going, and we must defend it. Here are 2 examples that illuminate just how far from responsible governance the Republican and Democrat regime in Washington, D.C. has wandered. First is our military budget. We spend $800 billion a year on our military. That's more than Russia. That's more than China. That's more than Russia and China combined. That's more than Russia, China, and the next 14 nations of the world combined to spend on their military. Why are we so worried about invasion? We have the world's 2 largest oceans to our east and west, and friendly neighbors to our north and south. To the best of my knowledge, there is no adjective in the English language to properly describe just how absurd our military budget is as a part of our national spending. This subservience to the military-industrial complex is exactly what President Eisenhower warned us about in his 1961 address, and we have to remove Democrats and Republicans from power so that we can address it. Second, both parties have fallen for the mistaken belief that the government can print and spend as much money as it likes and there will never be consequences. As of the coronavirus bailout, we are $25 trillion in debt nationally. That's $163,000 per taxpayer. If you're a taxpayer, you're already on the hook for $163,000. That's before we talk about the ongoing deficit. For as far as the Congressional Budget Office can see, we are going to have yearly deficits of $1 trillion and plus. Here's a photograph of Venezuelan currency littering the street because it's worthless. We must remove Democrats and Republicans from power before they print so many of our U.S. dollars that they end up in the gutter just like these Venezuelan dollars. The second declaration of my campaign is that to resolve our blue city, red county differences, we must de-emphasize Washington, D.C. and govern ourselves closer to home. See, we don't have a conflict between blue state values and red state values. What we have is a conflict between the differing interests of people who live in densely populated cities and those that live in more rural counties. And the federal government was never intended to be the arbiter of those disputes. It was intended to arbitrate the disputes between the states. So to resolve these differences, we need to make those decisions closer to home. The third declaration of my campaign is that we must defend capitalism and suppress socialism. Nothing in mankind's history has done more to ease human suffering than the free market and the profit incentive. It has also brought a standard of living to the United States that we could only have dreamed of a couple of generations ago. And we do hear a lot about inequality, about millionaires and billionaires. The reality is that all of us at every economic station in the United States have standards of living far beyond anything that our parents or grandparents could ever have dreamed of. According to the Foundation for Economic Education, as late as the 1820s, over 90% of mankind lived in extreme poverty. By the 1990s, that number was in the 30%. By last decade, it was down below 10%. The free market has been an economic miracle for mankind, and we must protect it. So why am I running for Congress? I'm not running for the House of Representatives out of any great burning desire to rule over people or to be a part of the reindeer games of Congress in Washington, D.C. I live a full and happy life here in Washington. I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a business owner. I love to play in the mountains, I'm a musician. I am the happiest guy I know. But I'm running because I believe passionately that we must end the regime of Republican and Democrat control. We must elect other people. And I happen to live in the district where that's possible. Washington 1, as far as I know, is the only district in the country where the Democrats and Republicans have left themselves vulnerable to a libertarian. And I happen to live here. The House of Representatives is the people's house. Our founding fathers envisioned it filled with citizen legislators, serving a couple of terms and heading back to their private lives. They did not envision career professional politicians running the House of Representatives. And we need to take it back. Somebody has to go first. I happen to live where the opportunity is. I'll do it. That's why I'm running.